second prototype for Practice Makes Priest today. Well, maybe I should stop calling it that. Either way, I have a couple new things I thought up that I want to implement in the game, and you're gonna see how I implemented them. I just want to show off what I've managed to do so far. Just keep track of it for myself. Let's go over some stats real quick. It's February 2nd, about 6 a.m. The last one was about 7 a.m. And it was on the 30th, I think. So it's been 3 days since my last prototype, and this is what I've made in the meantime. I know one of the days I think I was playing GTA all day, so I didn't get much done. I think that was the 31st. It doesn't matter. Let's let me play the game for you. I'm gonna have to put my microphone down, so it'll sound pretty shitty after this. And yeah, let me just run it for you, commentate over some things, and then I'll go over some of the code that I'm kind of proud of with this one. Sounds like it for okay. I just made it a 2D side scroller. A and D AD space. It's just back forth and jump. I didn't need the second dimension. I wasn't doing any 3D movement things. First you'll notice the platform, and then you'll notice maybe my character, and then you come into the bottom left, the glaring smiley face. I wanted to add kind of the like Markiplier cam to the game that would feature your character. It would show any current state, like afflictions you have in the game. You'll be able to get bitten by zombies, werewolves, vampires, and gain effects mostly negative. Some will help you solve puzzles though, and you'll need it on purpose. And it comes from failing to be able to grab a monster. Right now it's normal. I just have it set to a PNG. The journal I'll get to last. First I want to show, I go over to the left. That right there is a zombie. You wouldn't be able to know. But if I go over to it, I'm gonna do the equivalent of trying to pick it up like in the last prototype, but instead of just picking it up, it starts a mini game. This is the first little shitty micro game. It's collect the zombies. If I collect 5 before I let 5 hit the ground first, I turn yellow, which is supposed to be symbolic of me picking up the zombie, like in the last prototype. So I try and get it. This is me successfully picking it up after completing a micro game. Obviously, the micro games are going to be a lot more fun than Catch the Falling Bricks. The zombie one might stay the same with just some added flair. The other ones with each monster will have unique games to play, and the rarity of monster might even determine how hard it gets. I could make those things fall really quickly or make a lot of them, and you have to catch a lot more. Um, I don't have a way to put it down or sell it or anything, so I'm gonna restart real quick. And show you what happens if I fail to catch the 5 zombies before they hit the ground. I just spawned on top of one. Um, they'll hit the ground, and it counts 5 of them. I think this is the 5th. And I become zombified. The status over here has been affected. It's turned green. And for some reason, I spent like 2 hours trying to figure out how to make my player turn green. It wasn't in the plan to make me green. I don't know why I did this. I cannot pick up the zombie again, and you'll notice as I walk around, I limp. I limp like a zombie. Which I like how I did this. I'll go over it after I show off what's on the other side of the screen, which is the witch from Sort the Court. And you walk over to her, and she says she's the witch from Sort the Court, and asks if she can de-zombify me, and by the press of a button, I'm de-zombified. My character is no longer zombified. Either my profile picture here or my physical character, and I can move around normally again. And this would allow me to go and try to get the zombie again. Um, and I may or may not just fail. Yeah, who knows? I could be that bad and I become a zombie again. I can't jump while I'm a zombie. I don't know if you can hear me trying to press my space bar. And that's the basics of. Let me see what exactly I called it that I was trying to implement. It was UI of yourself that displays your current afflictions and mood. Right here. Microgames that pop up when you try and catch a creature. That when one, it results in capture. As you saw, I turned yellow, and then I just implement the stuff from the last beta. Zombification, if you fail said micro game, slowing you down, and you have to get to a certain spot to heal, and then interaction with NPCs, which I just walk up to. I guarantee I could make a way to have you press E instead. I could have made more in-depth NPC interaction, but I realized it would just be so incredibly easy to instantiate new scenes that are just different dialogues every time I press a button to just continue it. I guess making the text come out one piece at a time, adding little bitty bitties. Maybe that's what I'll do with the next one. This pauses my game, by the way, just like encountering the zombie. And that's the basis of what I did for that. The first thing I have on the list, though, is UI that brings up a journal you can flip through, hinting towards enemy behavior. Now I wanted to add like a bestiary that tells you about the creatures, so you can get a little hint as to how you use them during puzzles. This I enjoy. I nothing dramatic. You know, it just instantiates a scene that's this book with a left and right button. And when we're on the first page right now, so I cannot go left. If I try and go right, it flips the page. I try and go left again. I go back to page one and I still can't go left because I'm at page one. So I flip right. And I can flip right again. And then this is there are 3 pages right now. Um you might notice the textures are fucked. That's supposed to be Nightmare from FNAF 4, and that's the Godot logo, and that's the zombie from the first beta. I didn't add UV maps to the pages, but watch closely. Let's get into some technical stuff now, starting with what are you actually looking at. When I press left, it spawns a page over here, and then rotates it over there. Right does the same thing. Whenever it gets away far enough from this side, it turns this side of the book page into the next texture, which I have stored a bunch of textures in an array, and you're going to see how that's really cool in a second. And it just does the same. Left and right have their own, but have their own triggers in the code in a single script, and they're essentially the same. Just the page spawns at 90 degrees and then goes to -5 versus spawning at -5 going to 90, and then of course a way to control what page you're looking at now. I can press the journal again to despawn it all, and it restarts on the first page. Let's go over how I did this. I hope to not normally want to go into code, but there are 2 things I want to show off. One, the walking with the zombie. I believe it's just in the player code. If I'm not a zombie, I walk normally. But if I am a zombie and I'm not in a conversation, I disable jumping. But most importantly, if I'm moving, I have the movement direction. I just used the default Godot movement code for 3D and removed the Z direction. Most importantly, I move in the direction of X multiplied instead of by speed, like you would normally, just to control how fast you're moving. I took a sine of the global position times 5 plus 2, which you know how, you probably know how sine waves work. The higher the more the number changes, the more it's going to vary between -1 and 1. I added 2 so that the minimum was 1, so you never went to 0 speed, because if you did, then it'd be almost impossible to actually get to where you want to go, and then you wouldn't be able to move past it like Gojo Infinity. So I did +2, and then I did times 5 to make it more frequent. I don't know the math behind the sine waves, but it makes it change more drastically as moving. I based it on the global position. That's the part I'm most proud of. I was gonna make a timer. Normally sine waves in the shaders for the water in the last video is multiplied by time. So as time goes on, it just kind of moves on its own. This is based on, I thought of this all by myself, global position, depending on where you're standing is, how fast you can be moving, which won't be noticeable on average. You'll just notice that you're moving like a slow zombie. And I'm proud of how I did the zombie movement. Let's get into the book now, which begins with journal scene, right? Yes, and then pressing the journal button instantiates a journal pop-up, which has the left and right buttons, which has the book itself, and which has a texture displaying the book, because it is actually a sub viewport of an actual model I made with a camera pointed towards it. And what it is this and this are just material overrides on a single face, and I can update them as I did. That's a very scary preview for journal pop-up. Let's go into how the control works here. We're almost done. Glad you stayed so far. When you press the left one, I made it. You could just actually. Why wait to turn? Why? Why wait to turn? Hold on. Hold on now. Why wait to turn? I made it so you didn't have to do that. I made it so that you had to wait to turn the page in order to so that it didn't break. But oh, you know what? I know why it is now. Because you would literally be, if you pressed right and then left before it went all the way, I don't know what would happen. And I actually don't want to test it. It can turn. Yeah, keep it real important. What one tends to add stuff to their program for a reason. Anyway, I instantiate a journal page, which is just the single page you see flip by. All it is just the page, and it also has uh, some surface material overrides to change the content of either side. And I spawn it as a child of journal book. I set the origin when I made this in Blender to essentially the spine, so I just have to rotate it, and it automatically rotates around like the page would. Let me get back to the script. Instantiate it, set it to, depending on what you press, the correct spot, make it a child. Textures, I might figure out something better. A little bit annoying. I have to make a standard material and then change the albedo texture. And then apply it. And I apply it to, I use this array of compressed texture 2Ds so I can just reference the page that we're on, and then I get the page before or after if I'm, flipping through and keeping track of things so that it looked natural like it was. And then yeah, page number subtracted by 1. So I'm keeping a track of where I am on the array on both presses, and then in physics process, it moves, it is just rotating the page to the side that it's not on. Um, this part checks for how close the page is to either side, and if it is pretty close, it changes it to the texture of what is appropriate. For example, if the page is moving from right to left, if it's like barely moved away, it spawns inside the like cover, so it has to go through the page. And if the page had already changed by the time I press right, I don't know, it wouldn't look right. So I just, if the page has gone slightly past the page that's actually on the book is updated. You'll just keep all this in mind. Look at it, take a look, and I'll play it again for you. And then it deletes the node every time it gets to its destination, so I don't just have 1 million page nodes loaded as you try and keep going. What I accidentally did in all of this, yeah, I've kind of been brainwashed after like 5 years of game dev schooling and programming, is that this book accident it was an accident, but I'm completely proud of it still, is completely scalable. I just have to add a compressed texture 2D, which is just one of these. So I'm just going to repeat icon Zob table a couple of times and end it off with another beta journal entry placeholder. And this book it's completely scalable. Literally all you have to do is add things to the array, and it just keeps working, and it doesn't break when I try and go out of bounds, and I can keep going back and forth as I please, and I like that. Yeah, as you can see, the page here is set to the zombie, and right then it's set to Godot. The page here is set to Godot, and right then it's turned to zombie, and this will become Nightmare Fredbear, right? Or no, be Godot. Hold on. This one will become Godot right now. Right before the page passes it, I swap the texture out for what the next thing is going to be. I'm very proud of the journal. It took me a couple hours. It was frustrating to figure out. And I would have gone with something a lot more simple, but when I looked online for how to do this, no one knew how. There was one video online, and it was just them demonstrating how they did it, and also it wasn't able to take pages, or it wasn't able to take custom textures. It was literally a sprite sheet. So this is all me. It's the best thing I've probably done ever. I've talked for too long though. Yeah, all coming up on 19 minutes. I'll make the third prototype and come back to you when that's ready. Bye bye.